Excuse me, I'm not going to marinate them. I'm going to blanch these. Let's just throw them right in. I've got my water boiling here. I'm going to blanch these. We'll marinate them later in a little boiling water for just a moment. You just want to get rid of some of the fat and some of the fatty flavor from the animal fat, you see. Okay, that's about long enough, really. Just about a minute. Drain these properly, and we'll throw them into a bowl, and I'll show you what we need to add. Now, first of all, the condiment that I'm going to tell you about is called fermented black bean or salted black bean, or the Chinese name is Daoshi, D-O-W-S-E-E. Daoshi, and they're fermented black beans. That's what makes this dish. Then we want some sherry, about a tablespoon or so, and a couple tablespoons of light soy. There we go. And we want a bit of hot pepper sauce. There we go. Oh, that's murder. Be careful with that stuff, or we're all going to die. And we need some garlic, a couple cloves of garlic. I'm not going to take time to crush them in here right now because the other dish I want you to taste is going to take a minute. So we'll crush in some garlic. Then I want to put in a bit of cornstarch to thicken this. About a tablespoon. Oh, not quite a tablespoon. About a half tablespoon of cornstarch. Then we'll mix this all up. Put it in a steaming bowl. You get the recipe? Soy, sherry, black beans, garlic, a bit of pepper sauce, and of course the old proverbial ginger. And ginger comes by the hand. You buy ginger by the hand. You see, it's called such because it has all these fingers. We'll just break off a finger and put some in the bowl here. There we go. Mix all of this up. Let it marinate for just a couple of minutes. That's all you need. Just time for the flavors to begin to blend with one another. And we're going to put it in a steamer. Let me get a bowl to put this in. That bowl, of course, is much too large. It won't fit in my steamer. These will take an hour to cook now in a steamer. And you can use any kind of steamer you want. I prefer the big bamboo kind that I have over here because this sort of steamer, you see, does not allow moisture to drip on your food. And at the end of the hour, look what you have. There they are. Oh, the odor is heavenly, just heavenly. Let me get a pot holder and we'll get this out here for you. This is simply a marvelous dish. Very spicy, but it's not terribly hot. Ooh, it's hot in my hands. Wow. There, after that much cooking, I'm not about to drop it. The black beans have an almost chocolatey flavor, but not sweet as chocolate is, you know? Very unusual. All right, next one. Let me get my wok lit, and we're going to go on to a real gem. And this is a peasant dish. It's bean curd with pork, hot pork sauce. Everything is hot, yes. As I said to you in the restaurant, remember, it's if the weather's hot, you eat spice to cool off. If the weather's cold, you eat spice to warm up. And it works. It really works. Let's get a wok. We'll get my wok going here. And the first thing we're going to have to do, here we are, is to marinate about a cup of coarsely chopped, you see, coarsely chopped pork. And I don't trust anybody to grind my pork. I do it myself because otherwise it's going to have too much fat in it. So I want about a cup of pork. And to that, I'm going to add a bit of cornstarch, just a smidgen here. About, I suppose a teaspoon or so of good cornstarch, and a couple of teaspoons of white wine. I'm using dry sherry. That will work beautifully. And that will be a proper marinade for our meat for the moment. To mix that up, we'll get our wok going so we can start to chow this right away. And while it's chowing, I want to show you what the bean curd looks like. There, that's fine. It's ready to go into the pan. So, get your wok good and hot. Remember, the rule is hot wok, cold oil, foods won't stick. And that applies to all of your frying pans. If you put oil in a pan and then heat it up, some of you have heard me say this before, if you heat the oil up with a frying pan, what you wind up with is burned oil by the time the pan's hot, and everything sticks, and you think you're a bad cook. That's not your fault. Don't do that. Heat the pan up first. The pan's hot now, so now we'll put some oil in. Put in a tablespoon or so of peanut oil. This little can is kind of cute, isn't it? It keeps me from putting oil all over the kitchen. Works great. And in goes our pork. While that's chowing, I want to show you what the bean curd looks like. It's marvelous that in our time we can buy bean curd in the market so very quickly and easily. It's just terrific stuff. And bean curd is made from fermenting soybean milk. It's a very common product in our time and very versatile in the old world. So what we're going to do is to cut the bean curd, one cake that you buy in the supermarket, available in most large cities now. You see what I'm doing here? I'm cutting this into long sticks that way. I have a 4x3, that's a dozen sticks. Now I'm going to cut it this way. On the package it will say soft or firm bean curd, and for this kind of food you want firm bean curd. Now let that drain. Please let that drain for about half an hour so that some of the water will flow off and it won't cool our wok so quickly. So now I have one that I've already drained. And here it is. It looks the same to you, but the water's in the bottom. Oh, I just love to do this kind of cooking. Simply marvelous. Now, in goes our bean curd. Here we are. Into the wok. Let that simmer for a minute. And we'll now get together with our herbs and spices in order to make a peasant dish called bean curd with hot pork sauce. Are you ready for the condiments? Here we go. To that, we're going to add a tablespoon of bean sauce, and this is called soybean jam or soybean condiment. You can buy this in any Chinese market. This is from San Francisco. My friend John Young makes this. It's terrific stuff. Let's throw that in, and a bit of my garlic sauce. We'll just keep adding hot things to this until we have a marvelous dish. And then we're going to add a half a teaspoon or so of ginger, and I'm just going to grate it right into the old wok while things are heating up. There we go. There. The odor of all this ginger and bean curd and pork and the things that I've already cooked is going all over the kitchen now, and it's simply heavenly. All right, if you were really a serious Chinese Hunan cook, you would be using hot pepper oil. And if you're a cook and want to know why I'm not using it, because it's really too hot for me to handle sometimes. So I'm using something a tiny bit lighter, but if you want to go all the way, you certainly can. A couple tablespoons of soy. I'll give you the recipe again, or if I confuse you, just hang on and we'll tell you how to get recipes later on. A couple tablespoons of light soy, and then we're going to add a couple cloves of garlic. And boy, I can't tease you on this one and say I'll add it later. I want to do this right in front of you. Garlic's very important in this dish. Garlic's very important in the whole of the Hunan region. They eat lots of garlic. There we are. Get it all in there. And after our garlic, we're going to add 1/4 cup of frozen peas. You can use fresh ones, of course. I'm adding them for color and for flavor. There. Oh. This is beginning to smell like the Hunan restaurant in San Francisco, which is operated by a marvelous man by the name of Henry Chun. Henry Chun opened the very first Hunan restaurant in this country. He was born and raised in a Hunan village. And in his cookbook, you can find this book too, by Henry Chun, called Hunan Cooking, I think. In the book, he talks about his grandma. And he talked about the time he went to his grandma's grave after she died, of course, and he went to visit the grave. And he talked to her and promised her that he would be a good cook. And he said, she's always been helpful to me, and now as you read the book, she's being helpful to you. There's something about the family way of cooking in China that I think is absolutely gorgeous, just absolutely beautiful. You ought to stop by and see him. He's terrific. All right, now, at this point, we have in the pan our chowed meat, and then we've added the bean curd and some bean sauce and some garlic sauce, garlic and pepper sauce, a little bit of ginger, some soy, a couple cloves of garlic, 1/4 cup of peas, and a little bit of, we can add now a little bit of hot pepper oil or Tabasco or cayenne, whichever you prefer, if you want it hotter yet. You see, this dish is just going to make them smoke. And cook that for the 1 minute, as we just have now, and then add about 1/4 cup of chicken broth. And use your own, for heaven's sakes. About 1/4 cup of chicken broth. And then we're going to allow that to come to a boil. You might want a pinch of salt. Be careful now. I don't want you using too much salt, but the bean curd has no salt in it at all, you see. So I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're coming down the home stretch. What we have to do now is to add a bit of cornstarch, and I'm going to mix a tiny bit of cornstarch with a bit of cold water. Just a little bit of cold water and cornstarch, about a tablespoon of each. And this will make a nice thickening for our bean curd with hot pork sauce. Okay. There, it's time now. Throw it right in there. You see what I've done? Stir this up so that it won't have any lumps, won't cause you any lumps. I just toss in a little bit. I'm not putting it all in because I want to see how it's going to go. Now we can use most of it. There we are. I'm going to turn the heat down now because it's, I need to grab a few things for garnish, and our garnishes are going to be black pepper. Good Lord, Smith, that's the third kind of pepper you put in this dish. I know, but we're talking about Hunan. This is not dinner number one at the local Chinese-American restaurant. This is not dinner number one at all. And we need some green onions, or scallions, you see. Where's my large knife? Here we go. Just for a nice garnish on the top. Keep those fingers bent under and keep that knife sharp, and then you'll be all right. In they go. And finally, I want about a teaspoon or so of sesame oil, and we have the dish. Let me find a bowl for this one. The cuisine of Hunan is different from any Chinese food that you've ever seen. And I think it's my favorite. Somebody asked me the other day what my favorite food was in the whole world, and I had to tell them that it depended on what I'd had for lunch that day, because I love to run from cuisine to cuisine, from country to country. And that's what's so marvelous about being an American. You and I can have lunch with everyone in the world, and I think we're obligated to do that. That's the way you learn about history properly. What are people eating? There. All right, here we have a Hunan feast that I think you just cannot beat. I have a bit of Chinese. These are not antiques, but contemporary pieces from China, but they've always looked this way. It's called the old rice pattern. And if you'll notice the little holes are cut in the shape of a rice stick into the bowl, and then they reglaze it so that it has a lovely pattern. You would set lunch up on this of Hunan cakes, spiced spare ribs, steamed with black bean and garlic, a lovely chicken salad, which has peanut on the top, cucumber, and then cold noodles on the bottom, and finally a hot bean curd served with a lovely blend of peppers and pork. And these are the dishes from Hunan. There are many, many more. It's a very extensive, large collection of beautiful dishes because they're the great farmers of China. They do more in the way of farming and cattle raising and all that kind of thing than practically any other region in China. So they eat. When they come in from the fields, they eat like mad. Did you know that there's only one holiday in China each year? It's New Year's. It lasts for 2 weeks, but it's only one holiday. The rest of the time, you go to the fields every day. And for that reason, you've got to eat properly and eat well and have enough pepper and spice to keep your life going. And that's what goes on in Hunan. Enjoy it. I'm glad we could be together today. This is the Frugal Gourmet. Until I see you again, I bid you peace. Bye-bye.